Hi guys, and welcome to the second edition of Mrs. Freda's online social studies class for the week of May 4th. Let me just start off by recapping what you'll be working on Monday and Tuesday. You already started this assignment on Thursday, hopefully. Students are working with partners on a textbook investigation called The Colony's Moves Towards Self-Government. This assignment is due either Tuesday night or by Wednesday morning. So I'm sure you've already started the textbook investigation, but it would be a good idea to go back and look at your notes from last week and review what Great Britain got exactly after winning the French and Indian War. Does anybody recall? Very good. I heard the answer out there. It was the Ohio River Valley. Colonists were anxious to move into the Ohio River Valley because of the fertile soil there. However, if you recall, the king had promised the Native Americans that British colonists would not be moving there. The king did not want to fight a war with the Native Americans, nor did they want to pay for protection to guard the colonists who were living there. So the king made a proclamation, or proclaimed or stated, and made a law saying colonists could not settle west of the Appalachian Mountains. What did the colonists do? They got angry and they pretty much ignored this order. So this brings me to the textbook investigation. Hopefully you recognize these four people and you have already met them and read about their perspectives of what life was like around the time after the proclamation was issued and their viewpoint on whether or not they should be self-governed. Or to read background information about these four people and then determine how they would have answered various questions about being self-governed. Students finished answering those questions about the four people. They then were to start the final activity. Each person in your group should take on the persona of one of those four individuals. You would then conduct a roundtable discussion. And as you can see, this is a roundtable where people are trying to solve a problem or answer a question. The question that each one of you will be answering in your roundtable discussion as you take on the persona of one of these four individuals is, what would my life be like if the colonies were free of British rule? Please make sure that you use evidence from the textbook. So starting Wednesday and Thursday, you will be learning about the events that were considered the causes of the American Revolution, and there were quite a few. We will do some this week and some the following week. On Wednesday and Thursday, students will view videos, read from various sources, and the textbook to complete a chart and answer questions on the causes of the American Revolution. What exactly are the causes of the American Revolution? Last week, you already learned about two of them, the French and Indian War and the Proclamation of 1763. Others are listed here: no taxation without representation. Many of you may have heard of that saying before. And various acts: the Sugar Act, the Stamp Act, the Townsend Act, the Quartering Act, the Boston Massacre, and so forth. This week we will be going up to number 8 on this list, which is the Boston Massacre. Here's another picture of events leading up to the American Revolution. This particular picture shows you the event in a timeline format. Starting with the Sugar Act of 1764, these acts were designed to raise money to pay for the French and Indian War. As you can see, one act would be replaced with another act and so forth. So you could see how the colonists would be getting annoyed at the point of the Boston Massacre. The first act that you will be learning about is called the Sugar Act. And can you guess what they taxed on the Sugar Act? You are correct, sugar and also molasses. The Sugar Act taxed sugar, but it actually didn't make the price of sugar go up. It just made it easier to collect these taxes. And the colonists did not like that, so they began smuggling goods, and British soldiers searched more people's homes for smuggling. One of the most unpopular acts of the day was called the Stamp Act, which basically meant whenever you bought anything made out of paper, such as newspapers, magazines, even playing cards, you had to pay a tax. The colonists hated these taxes, and they began yelling and the battle cry of no taxation without representation. They felt that they could not be taxed because they did not have a say in Parliament. While Parliament was taxing and creating these new acts, the colonists did not just stand for it. They began to boycott British goods. Colonists also asked for these acts to be repealed or taken away. The colonists formed secret societies like the Sons of Liberty in order to fight the new taxes. This week, you will also be introduced to two of our most important founding fathers, and they were also members of the Sons of Liberty, and those people are Samuel Adams and John Hancock. The Quartering Act of 1765 was not an act designed to tax the colonists or raise money, but it was another act that the British could control the colonists. The Quartering Act required that colonists house British soldiers against their will. As the colonists were spreading their battle cry of no taxation without representation, King George III issued the Declaratory Act, saying, basically, I can pass any law on you lot, and there's not a thing that you can do about it. Parliament repealed the Stamp Act of 1765, and in 1767 replaced it with the Townshend Act. That was the tax colonists on items imported from Great Britain, like tea, glass, and paint. This was another act that the colonists despised and would cause more tension within the colonies. 1770, the infamous Boston Massacre incident occurred. British soldiers fired into a crowd of civilians. You will be introduced to this event this week and study it more in the following week. So that is a brief overview of events that led up to the American Revolution. You will learn about some this week, and then you will learn about other events in following weeks. So enjoy learning about the American Revolution. It's probably one of the most interesting topics in American history, and have a great week. Any questions? You know where to find me.